From the Hulu supernatural horror series Helstrom, I'd like to welcome Tom Austen and Sydney Lemmon to Sidewalks Entertainment. Hi guys, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Now, before we get into Helstrom, I'd like to talk a little bit about your earlier work. Take a short trip down memory lane, if you will. Now, Sydney, what was your first acting role? Your very first acting role?
Oh my gosh, it would have been Mary in my pageant play at the church that I went to when I was 7. So it's come a full circle working on Helstrom. But my first professional job was a Law and Order episode.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So you've been acting since you were 7 years old. That's incredible.
I mean, it was very, very amateur then. Still sort of amateur, actually.
How about you, Tom? What was your first acting role?
I mean, well, I think the first time I was ever on a stage was in like a primary school production of The Wizard of Oz, and I was
oh wow.
I was not just a munchkin, but the mayor of the munchkin. So I started pretty big.
Oh my goodness.
But then, yeah, my first professional job was an episode of a show called Shameless that was a long-running show here, which I was a huge fan of.
Now, for the past couple of months, a lot of us have been spending a lot of time at home. Now, what have you guys been up to? Sydney, what did you do to pass the time?
Strangely, I really got into tennis. I play tennis almost once a day at this point.
Nice.
Not something that I've ever taken a pull towards in my life, but it's at this point sort of like my therapy. I love playing tennis.
Tom, what have you been up to? Did you pick up any new hobbies?
Well, I live in the very center of London, so we're a little short on tennis courts here. So I haven't been playing tennis, but we wrapped the show and then we went straight into lockdown. So the first little bit of it, the main hobby was sleeping, really, and just catching up on the sleep that we'd lost over the past 7-8 months of being away.
For centuries, we've been fighting and keeping track of different things that move in and out of this world. The most dangerous ones, we find a way to contain. This is one of the worst ever.
Mom, can you hear me? I demand to speak with my mother.
I am mother.
Now, both of you play the main characters in the Hulu supernatural horror series Helstrom. Now, the show is based on the Marvel Comics characters Damon and Anna Helstrom. Now, these characters are half human and half demon. Now, is it because of their half demon that they have supernatural powers?
Yes.
Yeah.
The power ultimately does come from a sort of demonic source, but they're able to have a little bit more agency with how they use the abilities that they were born with.
Now, Sydney, what caught your interest in doing this show?
I just really think that Anna as a character was what got me excited. She is really strong and intelligent, and she has many dimensions. There's a lot going on there. So that sort of caught my eye. And also getting to play with having these supernatural abilities was something, it's like actor candy. It was really, really fun. So those are the things that sort of lurched out.
Same question for you, Tom. What was it about the show that made you want to be a part of the project?
Well, initially I looked at the comics, the Son of Satan comics that they were based on, and I saw that my character Damon has a pretty big red cape and some pretty tight leather pants, and so really I was just looking forward to wearing that. But unfortunately, they decided to ground the show a little bit more. But I think, you know, the same as Sydney. Like these are incredible characters in the comics. They're incredible characters that were written by our writers, and they're just such a joy to play for all of their kind of darkness and complication and everything that they have going on.
Yeah, Tom, it's funny that you mention the outfits because Sydney, your character in the comic books wears something completely different from what you wear in the Hulu series.
So true. Yes, I know.
Did you know that? Did you know that before signing on to the project?
I mean, I also referenced the comics, and I took a little look around, and I was like,
"Oh, okay.
Are they sure they want me?" Because, but no, Satana as a graphic being is bodacious and larger than life, and sort of
Okay.
I mean, lovely, but not myself. So I sort of used all of that as just actor information, and the sauciness and the thrill of how she looks is stuff that I tried to implement in how I was her. Though the costume designer Farnaz, who was a genius, sort of took her in a much more elegant, calculated, chic clothing as armor way. So that was a sigh of relief for me.
Now, Tom, when comparing your role in Helstrom to your previous roles, how different was it to work on something in the supernatural horror genre compared to other genres that you've worked on?
I mean, it's a whole different world. This what's so cool about the show is that if you look at it on face value, it's a world that we recognize as our own. You know, it's set in 2020. Like, people look like us, they talk like us, but they have these incredible abilities. And so I think that being able to take a world that we understand as people and then kind of flip it on its head is just it's so exciting. And I think as an actor, you always are looking for something different, for a new challenge to try and look at the world in a different way. And that's exactly what this show does. And so it was such a cool thing to be a part of, and to just really dive into the mythology of it.
So, Sydney, because it's a supernatural horror series, there are a couple of times where your character gets thrown around in some of the stunts. Yeah, what was it like to work on a set that's rigged to be able to do these things?
Honestly, that was such a treat as well, because getting to do hand-to-hand combat, getting to do sort of these incredible stunts, jumping over sides of parking structures, really big, exciting, thrilling stunts. It's amazing. And of course, you're in the care of a whole stunts team who are ready, you know, to put themselves in your place when it's too big of a stunt for an actor to do. But for the most part, it was so thrilling to get to spend hours locked in with the person you're fighting with, and drilling it until it moves like a dance. And then once you sort of can feel the choreography and the flow of it, to really live it and to feel the fight or flight impulse while you're doing it, it's so much fun. So those were some of my favorite moments on set. And yeah, to feel the real human power. And that's, you know, it's not just the supernatural stuff where you put your hand up and somebody falls over. This is the place where I, as a human, got to sort of meet the character and feel my power, which I like.
Well, great work to the both of you. Unfortunately, we are out of time. But
thank you so much.
Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today.
No problem. Thank you for having us.
It's so good to talk with you. Thank you.
That was Tom Austen and Sydney Lemmon from the Hulu supernatural horror series, Helstrom.
For more full-length celebrity interviews, visit SidewalksTV.com.